Honestly, I just think all-inclusive resorts are way better than cruises, and I have no interest in going on a cruise anytime soon. Hey y'all, and welcome to Checked In with the Roundtrees. Today we're going to be talking all-inclusive resorts because that's like my jam, and that's what I enjoy the most. This might be a little biased, but if you're thinking about going on an all-inclusive trip, then watch this video because it's going to give you some insight, even though it might be a little biased, but it's just my experience. So let's start with the pricing. A lot of people think cruises are more affordable based off the initial price tag, right? You can go on a cruise. Sometimes if you plan it out far enough for like $300, like I've seen some like promotions and things that they were sending to me, and they were like 200 and something dollars for the initial buy-in. But it's kind of like, I actually love Southwest. That's who we fly with the most. And they almost do what Southwest does. And they send you that email that say like, catch a flight for $50. And then once you click on it, it's nowhere near $50. And it's by the time you get through clicking everything, it's like $1,000. I feel like that's how cruises are, because you can see a cruise for like $200, $300. And by the time you get through picking your room, your packages, and all the things, you might as well should just went to all inclusive. And that's how I honestly feel, if I'm just being like truly honest in myself. I just prefer all inclusives. Like things that you may not know if you've never been on a cruise or you've never been to all inclusive. With cruises, a lot of times you have to pay for your room and board, right? So where you're going to stay on the ship and all those things. But let's talk about Wi-Fi. If you want Wi-Fi on your trip, which you're going to want because you're going to be at sea, and you won't have cellular data. And if you do, you don't want to use it, because I actually was on a cruise years ago, and all I did, honest, and this was before I even got into the travel industry, knew anything about it. I was really young. And so what I did at the time is that I sent 2 text messages a day back to like family. And I would send a text in the morning, just say, hey, I'm alive, I'm good. And then I would send a text at night, same thing. And I'm pretty sure that I turned off my cellular data, if I'm not mistaken. And I would only turn it on whenever I was sending those text messages. And it was a 6 or 7 day cruise, I can't remember. So you do the math. It's like 14 texts a day, a week or something. And by the time I got home, my bill plan was like $800. I'm not even kidding. I don't know how that happened. I don't know what was going on. But like I said, I was young, didn't know what I was doing. I should have just bought the Wi-Fi package. I don't even know if they had Wi-Fi back then, because this was years ago. But if they had it, I should have just bought it. So back to that, you have to pay for Wi-Fi if you want to be able to use your phone. And then another thing is the food packages. So there are so many things that you have to pay in addition to the ticket to get on the ship, right? So if you want specialty dining, that's another cost. There's just so many like hidden fees, if you will, on a cruise ship to me. And I just feel like by the time I get through paying for a cruise, I could have paid for an all-inclusive trip. Now, something I will say when it comes to excursions, you do have to pay extra outside of the cruise for that. True, but you also have to pay for excursions out of pocket whenever you go to all inclusives. But my opinion is that it's a little bit different, and I believe that you spend more money on a cruise with excursions than you do at all inclusive. And this is just my opinion. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think. But when you're on a cruise ship and you're gone for like 6 to 7 days, and you're stopping at 3 different ports, you're going to want to get off at every port, right? You're going to want to do excursions at every single port that you stop at. And that's going to add up, right? Because you got to pay for the excursion. You got to pay for the transportation. Sometimes if it's not included in the excursion that you paid for. You got to pay when you're eating out on these excursions and you're out and about visiting the destinations. And so think about that. You're having to pay at 3 different destinations for these excursions just to experience wherever you've docked in port. Unless you're one of those people who, go to the dock and you just kind of walk around the little shopping area or whatever they have close by. I mean, I guess you could do that, but that's not really experiencing whatever destination you're in anyway. So, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Now, another thing that I really like about all-inclusive resorts is that once you get to the destination, you're at the destination, I feel like on a cruise, it's like you're always arriving, you're never settling into one destination, and that might be your jam, but it's just not mine. So I'm speaking to my all-inclusive people who really get it. When you're on a cruise, you're like always on the go, right? You're never able to just like relax and settle into a destination. And I feel like even on the sea days, yeah, you can kind of slow down a little bit, but I just feel like the atmosphere of a cruise is so hustle and bustle. Like, get up and go do this activity. It's just constant go, 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 go. And maybe to me it's because there's so many people in such a confined space or setting, that it just feels busy, right? It doesn't feel like you are relaxing and your life has slowed down and you can really just take in, your vacation. And like, even to think about, like, when you get to the destination, you don't even get to really experience it in a calm and peaceful way, because you only get so many hours off of the ship, right? It's like six, I think it's 6 hours if I'm not mistaken. Y'all let me know in the comments, because I don't do cruises. But I think it's like 6 hours off the ship, and you're constantly worried, like, okay, well, I need the driver to be here at this time so we can go ahead and get started on the excursion. And then the whole time that you're there, you're checking the clock. Okay, we got 3 hours, we got 2 hours. You're constantly in this anxious state, so you don't get left, at destination. And think that's your whole trip. Like, every time you go to a destination, that's the experience you're gonna have, is go, 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 go. Hurry, 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 hurry. And I don't like that vibe. I like that I can get to an all-inclusive resort. And I will say this. Some people say they like cruises because you get to experience multiple destinations. Yeah, you get to experience a piece of the destination, right? But it's still not the same as really flying into a destination and staying there for a few days. It's just a completely different experience. And that's why I like all-inclusives, because I could fly into the destination, I can get to my resort, and then I could just, put my bags in my room and just relax, right? Like, I can, go get me something to eat right away and then go chill by the pool. Like, there's no rush to the vacation when you're at an all-inclusive. And then they also have, the excursions. Like I said, you can plan to get off the resort. I do believe all-inclusive resorts are great. But I do still like to get off the resort when I'm there, especially for the food at whatever destination I'm staying at, because, just being realistic, most all-inclusive resorts, the food is going to be okay. Now, we can talk about this in another video. I can tell you how to find resorts that have really delicious and enjoyable food that you would pay money for in other places. But you just have to do the research, right? They are out there. They just cost more money at the end of the day. So you got to be willing to spend the money for it too. But for majority of the time, all-inclusive resorts are going to have food options that you will enjoy, because they have multiple restaurants and things like that. And then, like I said, I always try to get off the resort to try some of the local food and just the local experience, because that's usually, where the best food is going to be anyway. And then also, I think another reason that I really like all-inclusive resorts is because you got to think about the vibe. Like, when I'm going on vacation, my husband will tell you, I fall asleep every time we hit the pool. Like, when I'm laying out by the pool, I always go to sleep. Every vacation never fails. So my vacation vibe is like relaxation, chill time. I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want to have to get up at 6 o'clock every morning, to get off the ship and all of these things. I want to just chill, relax, and recover from my day-to-day life back home. And a lot of times, I don't know if y'all seen them, but the pools on the cruise ships are so small. Like, if there's kids on the ship, they're probably the only ones actually in the pool. And it's just so confined. But at an all-inclusive resort, 9 times out of 10, there's always more than one pool. They have multiple pools, and depending on if you're at a family-friendly resort or adults only, even if it's family-friendly, they usually have some type of adult-only option for the pool area, so it's not so crowded, it's not so congested, and you can feel like you're getting that relaxed vibe at the pool, right? And it's not chaotic and just loud and rambunctious everywhere. And then another thing I think all-inclusives do really well is that they tailor the pools to the vibe, right? So a lot of times you're going to have that quiet pool where it's like an older crowd and they're just kind of relaxing. People are reading their books and drinking their cocktails. Not too much is going on. They don't even really have music at those pools. And then they'll also have like the main pool. So they'll be doing like activities, have a DJ, all those type of games and fun interactions if that's your vibe, right? And you want to be more social. And then, like I said, if it's kids friendly resort, then they'll have a kids area too. So I just feel like the vibe of an all inclusive resort is just so much better to me. I don't know. Y'all let me know if you agree or disagree. I want to know. Now, I feel like something that's underrated when it comes to all inclusive resorts is that when you wake up in the morning, this is one of my favorite things about all inclusives because I have many. But one of the highlights of the trip for me is waking up in the morning, being able to walk to my balcony because I usually, have an ocean view. Just my own preference is that if I'm going to go to the resort, I want the ocean view, right? I want to be able to see the water because I like to spend a lot of time outside. Like I'm one of those really cold natured people, and my husband, he's hot natured, so he likes the air conditioner on and all those things. So I enjoy being outside as much as possible. So I'm one of those people who I really use the balcony. And one of the things that I really cherish about all inclusive resorts is waking up in the morning, opening my blinds, and then opening the sliding door and being able to hear and feel the ocean breeze. That's just so relaxing to me. It's something that is like one of the highlights of my trip every morning. Just to be able to have that sliding door open and wake up in the morning and take your time and really just enjoy the destination that you're in. And I feel like on a cruise ship, you can't really do that. Like, we've had balcony suites before on cruises, and yeah, you can open the door and hear the ocean, but it's not the same vibe. Like, you don't see the greenery, you don't see the beach. It is just not the same feel when you're out at sea opposed to being in destination. Now, I'm not going to throw all the shade at the cruise people. I will say that I get that some people enjoy visiting multiple destinations, right? So they want to check off as many destinations as they can during their travels, and that's fine. Like I said, it's just a different experience because it's a go 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 experience. And if you're trying to check off multiple destinations like in one trip, then you can only imagine that it's going to feel like go 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 go, and you're not going to be able to relax, in my opinion, the way that you can at an all-inclusive resort. So I would like to hear what you guys' preference. Are you all-inclusive people? Are you cruise people? Just kind of want to see where we're at here and what are you guys' thoughts. So share them. There's nothing wrong with either. I'm just speaking my preferences and sharing what I enjoy, and I'll see y'all in the next video.